became close with a guy I met on Tinder over 8 meetings. Then after a sexual encounter, he blocked me, claiming I moved too fast. I am a 30-year-old female seeking advice on a recent personal experience that has left me feeling hurt and bewildered. I have been deleted and blocked by someone with whom I never officially established a relationship. This is my first post on Reddit. I matched with a wonderful man on Tinder who is 30 years old. We had several brief conversations within the app, and we discovered that we shared some common interests, particularly a passion for motorcycles. After 2 days of chatting, I invited him to a large local motorcycle event, to which he initially said he couldn't come due to being tired from work. He works long hours as a car mechanic. However, 10 minutes later, he surprisingly decided to ride his bike over to meet me. While I waited for him, my friends grew impatient and left. Upon my approach, he took off his helmet, revealing a goofy yet beautiful smile that was truly captivating. I informed him that my friends had already departed for a beach ride, and we engaged in brief conversation before setting off to locate them. Once we reached the beach, I introduced him to my friends, and he appeared quite nervous. He dropped things and struggled to articulate his words. We eventually found a quiet park bench where we talked for hours, continuing even after my friends had left. Our conversations flowed effortlessly, and there was an undeniable chemistry. As midnight approached, we needed to part ways to prepare for work the next day. That evening, I sent him a message expressing how much I appreciated our time together and my desire to get to know him better. He agreed, and we connected on Facebook, continuing our conversations via Messenger. During our second meeting, I invited him to join a local group ride on a Friday night. He was eager to participate, and we all enjoyed one another's company. The deep conversations continued as we shared pizza with the group. He and I eventually excused ourselves to ride up to a scenic lookout in the hills where we grew more open about our past experiences. He shared that he had suffered from numerous past relationship traumas, including lying and betrayal, and wished to take things slowly. I shared his perspective, having also experienced significant hurt, and went on to express that I can't do casual relationships. He mentioned that he did not want any physical intimacy without an emotional connection, which I found comforting. He disclosed that he deals with depression and anxiety and tends to overthink. I could relate, as I share similar struggles. His last relationship ended 2 years prior when he was cheated on, which precipitated a deep depression and contributed to his withdrawal from social interactions. He told me that he had been using Tinder intermittently since then. Eventually, he mentioned that he was tired and needed to head home, despite having a great time with me. We hugged goodbye, and I was thrilled, hoping for a meaningful and gradual connection. On our third encounter, I invited him to join another group ride, this time towards a show and shine, where we arrived together. The chemistry was still palpable, and we continued asking questions to learn more about each other. He mentioned feeling tired, so he left earlier than on our previous outings, which was understandable given our late-night conversations over the past few days. He expressed a desire to go on a proper date and proposed we meet the following Friday, 6 days later. I was ecstatic and struggled to contain my excitement, but things took an unexpected turn when he began sending me explicit messages about his desires. Initially, I found this peculiar and felt uncomfortable because it seemed at odds with our previous discussions about taking things slowly. However, I convinced myself that he was genuinely interested in me and felt some connection based on our limited time together. Ultimately, I went along with the flirtation, hoping not to jeopardize what could become something special. Over the following days, while we still exchanged messages regarding getting to know one another, much of the conversation became focused on sexual topics. Finally, Friday arrived, and he picked me up from his place to go out for dinner. After sharing a couple of drinks, we began to unwind, allowing our conversations to flow more freely. We took a walk along the beach, sitting on a cliff overlooking the ocean and holding one another close. Back at my home, we engaged in more intimate conversation that culminated in our first kiss, which was truly enchanting. He initiated touching, and I reciprocated, enjoying the moment, even though he quickly became fatigued. After another round of passionate kissing, he left because he was exhausted from work. I felt warmth in my chest and was eager to see him again. The next morning, when I checked in on him, he mentioned feeling sick and having a headache, Since I felt fine, I wondered if it was due to the food or drinks. We reunited for lunch 2 days later, sharing card games and more kissing, reminding me of youthful romance. We arranged to meet again 6 days later on Saturday. The nighttime sexting continued. I invited him to join my usual Friday night local ride. Initially interested, he declined once more, citing fatigue. On Saturday, we visited a beachside bar, enjoying drinks and watching the sunset while flirting and exchanging smiles. He asked me if I was attracted to him, to which I responded that I was very much interested. He replied that he felt the same. Everything felt promising. We walked down to the beach, holding hands, kissed by the water, and returned to my place for more intense kissing and teasing. He mentioned he felt it was still too soon for sex, and I concurred. He appeared exhausted once again and left shortly thereafter. The following day, he admitted to feeling extremely unwell, stressed, and having a headache. I started to question whether something was off. 2 days later, on a public holiday, with the temperature soaring to 40 degrees Celsius, I invited him over to enjoy movies in the air conditioning, as he had mentioned struggling with the heat at his own place. While we watched The Simpsons in bed, following all our prior risque messaging, I asked if I could perform oral sex on him, something I told him I truly enjoyed. He appeared enthusiastic and accepted without hesitation. We both had a great time. After his departure, I reached out to confirm that he was comfortable with what transpired and whether I had crossed any lines. He assured me everything was fine. However, I didn't sleep well that night as I was overthinking. The next morning, I expressed my concerns to him, and his reply was simply, "No stress." Following that sexual encounter, his texts noticeably diminished in frequency and engagement. He stopped asking personal questions to get to know me better. Although some sexting continued, it lacked the same fervor as before. Anxiety began to creep in, but I kept my feelings to myself. I invited him once more to join my regular Friday night dinner and ride with friends. He expressed uncertainty about attending and said he would contact me after work around 4 p.m. Unfortunately, I didn't hear from him until 10 minutes before we were to leave for dinner, when he informed me that he was too tired. We planned another date for pizza and drinks at the beachside bar. In his message, he stated, "Let's get pizza, drinks, and see what happens at your place." I interpreted this as an indication that he was ready for sex. Overjoyed, I dressed in a cute outfit and opted for sexy underwear. Upon picking me up, he mentioned having shaved his face and his below-the-belt area. I secretly felt excited as I had developed deep feelings for him. However, while waiting for our pizza, I noticed he seemed disengaged, responding to my conversation with dismissive remarks and one-word answers. Alarm bells rang in my mind, but I chose to remain composed. After dinner, we went to the beachside bar again, and while the conversation slightly improved, I found myself doing most of the talking while he simply listened. He claimed not to be in the mood to drink and only had one beer. After the sun set, we returned to my home, where we began kissing again. I never initiated any physical intimacy, allowing him to set the pace. We started touching again, but he repeatedly pulled away, citing shoulder discomfort. As the night grew late, I expressed my feelings. "I really like you a lot, and I'm ready for our relationship to progress. If you're ready, I would like to have sex." He responded that he was nervous, shy, and too fatigued, wanting to feel 100% before proceeding. Tired himself, he decided to head home. After resting his head on my shoulder for a moment, he kissed me one last time, and we shared a meaningful gaze. It was a moment I will always cherish. I was also exhausted and fell asleep quickly after he left. The following morning, I woke up around midday to find no message from him. While this wasn't unusual, I still checked in to see how he was feeling. Once again, he reported feeling unwell, stressed, and having a headache. When I asked if it was due to the alcohol, he proclaimed it was related to stress. I asked him, "Are you still interested in seeing me?" His reply of, "I don't know what to say," made it clear that he was not prepared for sexual intimacy. He explained that the pace of our relationship was making him physically sick with stress. He felt overwhelmed by what he believed were mixed signals and suggested that I was moving too quickly. I told him I was confused, especially given our prior conversations that involved sexual innuendos, including his invitation for pizza and drinks. His response revealed that he was not ready for a relationship and expressed a need to address his internal struggles. I conveyed my pain at the sudden turn of events, expressing my feelings for him. He apologized for how things unfolded and promptly deleted and blocked me. Could I receive some insight into this situation? Was he emotionally unavailable, perhaps grappling with trauma from earlier relationships? Was he exhibiting avoidant behavior, or perhaps harboring fears about attachment or sexual performance? My intention was always to seek a meaningful partnership. During the 4 weeks we spent seeing one another, we met 8 times in total. After this experience, I believe I need a considerable break from dating. In summary, I connected with this individual on Tinder, and we saw each other 8 times while getting to know one another. Everything appeared to be going well until after one intimate encounter, when his interest dwindled, and I eventually was blocked after being blamed for the pace of our relationship, despite receiving inconsistent messages.